So today we are talking all about brushes. You know you need it. You know you want it. I got it for you. Today we're going to talk about everything from different types of brushes to their functions to how to take care of them. And one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video is one, because I know that there's so many brushes out there that it can be really confusing for someone who is just starting to get into using brushes for makeup. But the main reason I made this video is because if I see one more person use this damn thing, I just might scream. But don't worry about that, little mama. I got you. I'm sorry guys, I'm in like a super goofy mood. So I'm gonna try to get through this like educational thing without making the most distorted faces possible. So with that being said, let's get into it. So there are two types of brushes, natural and synthetic. What they look like is kind of like this. This is a natural hair, goat hair in fact, bristle brush. Just like human hair, natural bristle brushes have cuticles at their ending. Therefore, they're best used with powders and not liquids, because if you use liquids on it, it'll absorb the product, one, and it won't give you a very even distribution of the product. So if you want to use something with liquids, gels, creams, you want to use a synthetic brush. Those are what they're best for. Okay, so I wanted to start with foundation brushes because there are so many foundation brushes and they all do different types of things. So let's go over that. I'm sure many people are familiar with this type of brush. It's a synthetic brush used for foundation. And how people typically use this is kind of like this back and forth motion or swiping down motion, but it's actually not the most user-friendly brush on the market. What I like to use, and I'm going to show you this, but I know it's not a brush, but I had to include it because it's life-changing, and that is a sponge. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with like I actually have one. Why don't I just show it? Many people are familiar with these old school sponges, which actually they were like in a good direction. But now we have these sponges. And so this is a Real Techniques complexion sponge, and it's awesome because all you have to do is wet it under the sink, make sure that it gets real big, drain out all the excess water, take a towel, and just kind of like make sure it's wrung out really well. And you can use this and spread that foundation all over, and it's gonna give you a beautiful natural look to the face. Another alternative is a buffing brush. This one's from Real Techniques as well, and it is it's their buffing brush. For this, as you can tell, the bristles in it are relatively dense, but at the same time, it's wide enough that you're gonna make sure that you're gonna have a nice, well, buffing to the foundation. It's not gonna look super concentrated. You should get a medium to full coverage with this brush, and it works really, really well. Okay. So another brush for foundation is a kabuki brush. These are super popular and they were made popular with powders, but they can also be used with liquids. And you'll be able to do this with, well, pretty much any liquid. But what I want you to see is how short it is. You see how short that is? You're gonna get a very full coverage with this brush. It's short, it's dense, and it's wide, as you can see. I did a horrible job cleaning this brush last night, but we'll overlook that. One of the things I did want to tell you, speaking of density, is that when you see a brush that is short, okay, when the bristles are short, that means it's going to be really dense. Anytime, this has to do with eye brushes as well as face brushes. When they're short and dense like that, you know that you're going to get more pigmentation, you're going to get more coverage with whatever you're using, foundation or eye product. Whereas a fluffy brush, here's something like this, is not going to go and deposit a ton of color. What it's going to do is going to buff out that color. Just something to keep in mind. And that applies to foundation, that applies to eyeshadow as well. Anytime you see a short, dense one, you know, I'm going to get a lot of color payoff out of this. Whereas, you know, something fluffy, it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be more airbrushy look, okay? Oh, and just so I don't forget, this is the Morphe M439. Okay, so concealer brushes. Most people are familiar with concealer brushes kind of like this. Short, stiff, dome-like. And to be honest with you, I don't use something like this for my concealer. I don't. What I love using for my concealer is this brush right here. Actually, I have a few things, okay? But this has been my recent go-to one. This is the Morphe E46, and it's a little angled brush. I love my multitaskers because I can find multiple ways of using this brush. And I just put my concealer on and I just buff it out. It gets me in the corner here. I like it because it gets in this corner and I'm able to buff it out all along. I'll also use the Real Techniques contour brush. Even if I can use it for my contour, I can use that, I can, use some quick change spray, brush cleaner, and I'll just go ahead and it buffs it right out beautifully. I actually really love big, well, this is relatively big, but something that you wouldn't expect going underneath your eyes, it buffs it out really, really pretty. So another function for this brush. And of course, you can use the complexion sponge or a beauty blender if you have one of those, because they have a tip right there and you can just go ahead and press that concealer right in. So you could pretty much do all your foundation and concealer with this brush. So for like $6. Go get it. I'll be here waiting when you come back. Don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. For bronzers, there's so many brushes people use that are different for bronzers. Like I've seen people use this for a bronzer, I've seen people use this for a bronzer, I've seen people use this for a bronzer, I've seen people use this for a bronzer. I mean, honestly, when it comes to bronzers, it's kind of like, what is your preference, ma'am? That's how it works. For me, I've never used that for bronzer, I'm gonna keep it real. But I've used I use this for a bronzer. This is what I use for a bronzer the most. And this is the Sigma E40 brush. Unfortunately, it sheds a little bit more than I like, but I'm so used to it that I'll be like, oh, I'll dust it off, whatever. But yeah, Sigma, I hope that, I bought this several years ago, so perhaps they've bumped up their stuff, and I have other brushes that don't shed as bad as this one. I don't know why it does that, but Morphe has a similar brush like I showed you for the blush brush, and this one's awesome. Like seriously, if you're gonna go and do that angle brush, do this E40 brush from Morphe. Like, sit with it, okay? I'm stuck on it with blush, so I haven't really delved into bronzing my face with it. But you can also use that Morphe E3 brush for bronzer if you want it. Like, you got a lot of territory to bronze up. Like, you're not just trying to put some places, you want like bronze everywhere. Good brush for this. I really love that this angle. You see how it kind of just sits on your face here? Good stuff. I like this brush as well. And you can even do a small brush like this for your bronzer as well. It's all about your preference, okay? But if it ain't looking right, ditch it and try something new. So blush brushes. I have an old brush that I have to use just to give you an example. I've had this brush since I was a teenager. I don't know. And I probably shouldn't use it, but it's almost like my blankie. So as you can see, it's a dome-shaped brush, okay? And that's pretty much because it's gonna be applied right to the apples of the cheeks. So you kind of want a shape brush like this. It's pretty standard. Another brush to consider is an angled brush. And this is gonna pretty much kind of like do that whole little shebang. The thing about this is it also can be a multi-purpose brush and be used as a contouring brush or a bronzing brush, if you will. You can also use it for contouring right here. Morphe has phenomenal brushes. The only downside is that you have to order online, but honestly, in this day and age, like who doesn't, right? Okay, another basic essential brush is a powder brush. So you can have something like this that's really big and fluffy, or something a little bit smaller. Either way, both of them have long bristles, so they're both gonna give you that airbrush look. You don't need a lot of colored bean deposit with powders, therefore, they don't need to be short and dense, remember? The thing is though, I love this brush. This one though, just to let you know, this is the Sigma F30. It's a large powder brush. And this is the Morphe E3. I wanted to try without looking, but it's the Morphe E3. And this is a great, another multifunctional brush for bronzer, powder, blush, contour. If you can get multifunctional brushes, get them because they are awesome. Yes, high five, powder brush. Okay, so if you do contour, I did want to include a couple of brushes. The first one is from Real Techniques. It's their contour brush, which is nice. It's very dense, but it's also dome-shaped, which is also pretty cool because it fits right here where you'll need that contour, and it's small, so it's like perfect for contouring. All these brushes, man, brushes can be used for whatever you want them to. If you can get it to work for you, do so. Another contour brush, like I said, is this one. You can contour with this one because of that edge. You can do that if you want. And like I said, multifunctional brushes are the best. All right, seeing as highlighting is all the rage, I definitely wanted to include my favorite highlighting brush, which is only, well, actually it's two. Two of them. And the first one is the Morphe M310. Or Morphe M310. Either way, it's this brush, guys, and it's really, really good. It is a natural brush, natural bristles, but remember, we're gonna get that really soft, diffuse lighting. So that's gonna go right here. See how nice it is? Beautiful. And I love it because it gives a great highlight. It's very soft. You can build up your highlight with this. It's just a great fan brush. So if you're ever wondering what fan brushes are, that's what it's for. You can highlight like here. You can highlight the brow. You can highlight the nose, the chin, above the lips, wherever you want. Now, if you can't get your hands on a brush like that because you don't like to order online, you can use this. Oh, is it dirty? I don't even know. Okay, I got this brush at Michael's craft store. So yes, they're brushes. I mean, we're painting our face, painting the canvas. If you can get a soft one, do so. I got this one for about $3, and I like this one. I use my Morphe fan brush for sure here, but I really do use this for getting into underneath the brow. I definitely use this for my nose and above my lip. I love this fan brush, and it could be used for all those great things, but I just use that for the cheeks, and I use this one for the other ones. And I love this brush. It was so great. I could have probably gone without this brush, but I'm glad that they're together. Best friends. Okay, so we've talked about bronzer, we've talked about blush brushes, face brushes, foundations, everything. Let's move into eyes. So, I'm gonna tell you a few essential brushes that you need for eyes, okay? The first one is a soft dome brush, just like this. This is going to be great because this is what's gonna buff out and blend all that eyeshadow, even when you mess up and it doesn't look good. Very important. This one is the Sigma E40 brush. Every woman needs a blending brush. This one I don't usually put anything on it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But lately, since I've built up my brush collection, I just use this like by itself. No product on it, and I just buff it out. Just buff it out, girl. Buff it. Good brush. Another brush that is essential is a crease brush. Now this is a rather large crease brush, and it is the Morphe M22 or it's the Morphe E22. And it's a pretty large crease brush, but I find that I like to use this anyways because do you see how tapered it is? See how tapered it is? It's very nice. It's a little dirty because I used it for today. But you could still, it gets right into that crease, and the nice part is it blends and buffs out. Morphe's the bomb. Another brush that's really awesome for the crease is the MAC 217. I mean, this has been popular forever and ever. It's, as you can see, the bristles, see how nicely that packed that is? Perfect for right in the crease. Right in the crease. It's fantastic, okay? So both of those are crease brushes. You don't need both of them. If you have to pick, I mean, I couldn't even pick between the two, to be honest with you. But you don't need both of them, but they're both crease brushes that are really, really awesome. So, crease brush, fluffy blending brush, What's our third brush? Is a pencil brush. As you can see, it's got a very fine tip. See how it's tapered at the point? But it's got some thickness at the base. And this is what you're gonna do to buff out those edges. When you put liner on, instead of just putting liner, you just can buff it out and soften it out right there. You can go ahead and soften the top out. You can use this in the corner of the tear ducts to put a highlight there if you want. Pencil brushes are essential, and I know a ton of ladies don't have this brush. Last but not least, you will need a shader brush. So a shader brush is flat, it looks like a paddle brush, it looks like a foundation brush. You can see it's there you go, see how flat that is right there? And this brush is used to apply the eyeshadow lip product, which means you can get rid of that and just use this, and it will give you such a better look, ladies. You don't even know what I'm talking about. It's good for you. Okay, so to sum it up, if I miss out on any of the names, I will put all of them down below. This video isn't to kind of promote any brand or anything like that. I just want you to know about different types of brushes so that you can make your makeup look phenomenal, okay? All right, so these 4 brushes, okay, let's try it again. Pencil brush, important. Buff, what are they calling this? What do they call this? This is a blending brush, okay. Fluffy dome blending brush, awesome. Crease brush, paddle brush, paddle shader brush. There's lots of different names according to the companies, but all you need to know is when you go into a store and you say, yep, that looks like a brush that I can use on my lids. Yes, I can blend out shadow with this. That's what you need to know, okay? All right. Okay, some really quick mentions for some eye brushes, because I just think that they're super affordable, and this is more to prove to you guys that you can get brushes that won't break the bank. So here I have 2 e.l.f. brushes. e.l.f. came out with some recent brushes, but these I've had for a little while. This is part of their dollar collection, so pretty much anything in this collection is $1. And yes, most of it I will say is not all that, but this brush, I love this little brush because I feel that if I want to deposit color in my crease right here, I can use this $1 brush sometimes, and it does the job. $1. I've had it for a few years too. A few years, they're still available, but $1. Every time I do a tutorial or I do something that this brush comes up, I'm like, $1. Awesome. This brush, as we mentioned, remember we talked about it, you see how short and dense it is? So it's gonna deposit a lot more color. It's part of their $3 collection. They have a $3, I think they have a $6 now as well. But this little dome-shaped brush is awesome because it also can really buff out the edges of your liner if you want. Or you could just focus this right here at the corner. I kind of just do a little flicking motion right here to create some depth right there in that corner. So $3, you don't need it, but you might find you can't live without it. Okay. Another brush that's really, really nice to have is a flat brush, right, like this. It's a synthetic brush. It's super, as you can see, thin. And this brush I use for creating the perfect outline to my brows. You can also use this brush to tightline the eyes with eyeliner. Pretty much it keeps it really close to the lashes, and you can use it with gel, or you can use it with powder as well. So this is a really great brush to have. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's from Lancome. I had this brush and I got it when I was 20 years old. So, I am in my 30s now, so that will tell you that this brush can last quite a while when you buy quality brushes. This is a case in point. Okay, so some liner brushes. You can go ahead and use any of these types of brushes for liners. So you can have an angled liner brush, kind of like this, and these are really good to use for gel liners, really nice. You can use a pointy liner brush like this, which is nice as well, to create your winged out look. This is just about a preference. These liner brushes are all preference. And both of these brushes are from Sigma. This is the E05 and the E65. The angle brush is the 65 and the the pointy liner brush is the E05. So both these brushes I got them because they were part of the collection that I bought from Sigma, and they're both really good. I actually really like this pointy brush not to do my liner, but to smudge out my liner when I want it to like just be on the lash line, but no further. I use this brush. It's not an essential, but it is there. And then this is another brush. This comes in the Real Techniques, and this is just a liner brush. And like I said, you can use this also. It's a synthetic brush, so you can use it with creams, gels, liquids, things like that. So I wanted to give you guys some ideas and options of what's out there, some products. And you know, I've mentioned a couple of brands here. I've mentioned Sigma, I've mentioned Morphe, I've mentioned Real Techniques, and to me, those are some really strong brands. One of the things I did want to show is how accessible brushes are. You can get a kit like this. This costs about $20, and it's from Real Techniques. So here you can have, this is a brow, it's an angle brush, but it's considered like a brow brush to fill in your brows with powder. This is a liner brush, so for liquids, gels. This is also like a shader brush. This is gonna take the place of kind of like a pencil brush, because it's gonna do some detailing work and you can buff out the lines if you need to. This is gonna be your crease brush right here. And then this one, you know what? I feel like they want this to make this the blending brush, but I feel like it's a little bit dense. And I use this for other things like priming my lids or using some under eye correctors. But yes, this is a really great thing because the other thing is it closes and boom, you put it away. Awesome, 20 bucks. I think it was like $19.99. I don't know what it is, but I got this at Ulta. So this is a great idea. I also got one, I got one for my mother because I swear she was using one of those like eyeshadow apps. I was like, Mommy, stop it right now. I don't know if she knows that that's why I got, Mom, that's why I got you that 1 year, okay? Throw out the applicators, which I still see hanging around your vanity. All right, some other great brushes are from Morphe. Morphe has awesome quality and super affordable. They're around the price range of Real Techniques as well, but they mostly sell, they have them available like grouped together. I bought mine separately as individuals because I wanted to like build. I already had so much brushes, I just wanted to plug in some different ones. But like I said, a lot of the brushes that are Morphe, you can use them for so many different things. They're multitasking brushes. So yes, invest in quality brushes. A quality brush will last you for years and years and years. I'm not lying. I have brushes from when I was a teenager and they keep going strong. So Morphe is a great brand. Their brushes are super inexpensive. Check them out. Initially, I had bought my brush set kind of like this. It came in it's so dirty now, but I bought this several years ago from Sigma, and it's a brush roll, and it came with all kinds of brushes. All the Sigma brushes I have, I bought in this kit right here. So you can do that. You can buy them individual, you can buy mini kits, big kits. Either way, find a way to build your brush set slowly but surely, and you'll get there. Taking care of your brushes is super important if you want them to last a very long time. I clean my brushes about every week. If I don't, it's about every other week, and that's because I probably didn't wear a lot of makeup that week. What I do is I don't buy myself a brush cleaner. I make it at home, and it's bomb diggity. What I do is I use a dish soap like Done, and it's antibacterial, and I will mix it with some coconut oil like this one right here. And I put these two together and voila! Clean brushes.
So what I do is I take my dirty brush, I dip it a little bit into the coconut oil, then a lot into the antibacterial soap. I wet it a little bit and then I start swirling it in my hands. I don't put it directly under the water. I let the water cascade on my hands, cleaning the brush. Then I wipe it clean and then I put a brush guard on it. These are really awesome because it preserves the shape while the brush dries. Then I set it flat and I let it dry overnight.
Another thing I do to help between those times of cleaning my brushes is I use a brush cleaner. So something like this, is really, really great. And I get this at Ulta, and I love it because I just spray it on a towel or paper towel or towel in general, and I just clean my brushes. So those multitasking brushes that you use are perfect when you have a brush cleaner because you can go ahead and use it for your contour. For instance, you could take a brush like this, use it for your contour, spray it, clean it, and use it to blend out your concealer as well. So a brush cleaner is pretty awesome if you have only a few brushes and you want to use them for more than one thing. I feel like I've talked about all the brushes. I've gone through so many brushes thus far that I'm just like, did I say everything about them? I don't know. Did I get it? Did you get it? Did you learn something? I mean, I don't know. I've been talking for forever, so I hope you guys got all the information that you needed from it. And let me tell you something. I just want to let everybody know that I have not been endorsed or sponsored by anybody, as you can tell, because I keep on talking about all different kinds of brands. Because, you know, to me, you may find a brush at this company that's really awesome and then find another brush here, and why not mix it all up? You know what I mean? Well guys, that completes my brush guide. I really hope that I was able to either answer some questions for you guys or teach you something new that you didn't know before. And if I did leave you with any questions, feel free to comment below and I'll be sure to answer you. And yeah, just thank you for watching. Right on. High five. Alright guys, that's enough of my goofiness. Bye. I feel like I'm like a fairy godmother. I got you. You want the brush knowledge. I was really hoping for more. Ay, Diosito.